Would you mind leading us in a prayer?
Our Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this beautiful day that you brought us. We're thankful for the opportunity to be here this evening and study more of your word. Pray, Lord, help us to think of the others that were unable to be here for whatever reason, both spiritually and physically. Pray, Lord, that you be with our teachers this evening, teach the classes. Thank you for the leadership that we have here. Pray, Lord, help us all to grow. Bless us this hour in Jesus' name.
Amen. Awesome. All right, well, if you have your phones, go ahead and scan that QR code. And that'll have the material we're going to go over right on your phone. But don't worry, I'll display it too, but I'll give you a minute to scan that and to get help if you need it with scanning. Now, the nice thing with this is a shareable link, so you can keep this material and you can print it off of this link if you want it to have it in a hard copy, or you can just delete it after the class. No harm, no foul. So I created it. It was beneficial to me and just something I wanted to try. I've been messing around with a program called Sway. It's with Microsoft, and I've been doing quite a bit of it at work and messing around a little bit here with it as well. So if it's useful, great. If it's not, that's fine too. You'll find when we get to the bottom of it, there's actually a place to submit questions. If you have a question and you walk away tonight and tomorrow, next week, you have a question about something or a comment, you can submit it right through there and it'll email me and let me know. So, and I'll reply if you want to reply, or I'll just update it if you have a cool idea, something I missed. So appreciate it. Everybody got that wants to scan it? Everybody good? Okay. I don't have my glasses on, so I'm not sure how far back I can see. So Chelsea, are you good? Okay, all right, got it. Good, okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip out here, and we will go over to what you should have on your phones right now. So you should have this on your phone right now, if you scanned it. So anybody not have this? Have something else? You good, Cindy? Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So give that a try. Work for you? Okay, good. All right, so we'll just go through this. Tonight, what I figured we'd do is the way Daniel and I had the class structured and separated. He went a little bit long in some. I was going to go a little bit short in the last, and then timing was such that he's out of town this week. So I figured with him being out of town, rather than going a little bit further, and I didn't know if we'd have some of the kids and just different visitors coming in this week, I'd just do a review. So rather than covering any new material, just kind of step back and go, hey, we've gone through the first 53 chapters. Let's just step back and just take a look at the book of Isaiah in a summary format. So we'll go through that. Then we'll go through the test, or the quiz. I shouldn't say test, it's quiz. And Cindy told me I should have said this, and I don't know if I didn't, but make it apparent, like, this is anonymous. The quiz was anonymous. So I don't know your answers. We will go over the answers. So if you're one of the folks that, like, I don't want to do this because I don't want to see my answers, don't worry about it. I wasn't going to see anything, and that's not important. It was just something to do, and again, just trying to fill. I'm using this as a filler week before Daniel comes back, and he'll pick up in chapter 54 next week. So as you go through the book of Isaiah, I broke it down into different sections, and if there's anything you don't like about this, I'll blame it on Sean and Daniel, and if you like it, it was me. But no, I asked them the proof material, and I got a lot of input from different people, so it was good. I even had Scott take a look at it. He really liked it. So hopefully, I don't know if that means anything, but so I broke it out like as an introduction, if you want to refer to this as an overview of Isaiah. Isaiah is one of the major prophets in the Old Testament. We all know that. His prophecies span from the reign of King Uzziah around 740 BC through the reign of King Manasseh. So, and I think that was probably Manasseh 699, give or take, and I think that actually may be one of the questions. Historical context, Isaiah prophesied during political turmoil as the Assyrian Empire was growing, or was a growing threat to Israel and Judah. His ministry dealt with warnings of judgment on Israel and the surrounding nations and promises of hope and redemption. The message of the prophet underscores the trustworthiness of God by demonstrating his faithfulness in fulfilling his covenant with Israel. So just some things to think about, just a very basic introduction. Now, then I figured it might do us some benefit just to look at the structure of Isaiah, and there's different ways to approach this. The way I parceled it out is it's often divided into 3 sections. I saw differences in the way, narrators would look and divide it up, but there was some thematically, there were some very consistent things. Are you good? Oh, okay, good. Let me make sure. So I broke it up into chapters 1 to 39. That focuses on the judgment on Israel and the nations, and the focus is on the Assyrian threat at this point. Chapters 40 through 55 is comfort and restoration, or the focus is on the Babylonian exile and the future hope. And chapters 56 through 66 are the vision of the New Jerusalem and future glory. So everybody following me so far? Did you guys get to scan it? Were you here for the QR code? Because you can pull this on your phone. You need the QR code? No? Okay, good. So any comments, thoughts thus far? Okay. So now, then I went into key themes, and the key themes gets kind of long. I have 10 points, so you could probably find more. Matter of fact, I'm sure you could. And you may have some differences of opinion about things. That's totally great. This is just me doing the work. So for themes, we have the holiness of God as one. So you can find in the key verse for this is Isaiah 6, verses 1 through 8. Isaiah highlights God's absolute holiness and sovereignty as seen in his vision on the Lord, on his throne. This emphasizes God's purity and majesty. He's a foundation for understanding, and it represents our understanding of humanity's need for redemption. So God is so holy. He is the one God. He is the true God. Point 2, the human sinfulness and our need for repentance. The key verses, I would say, are Isaiah 1, 16 through 20, and Isaiah 6 and 5. So Isaiah confronts Israel's rebellion and sin and calls for repentance. This points to our universal need, for our salvation that comes through Jesus Christ. Theme number 3 for me, God's justice and judgment. Key verses might be Isaiah 1, 24 through 28, and Isaiah 13 through 23. Now, God is portrayed as the righteous judge who will punish sin and restore righteousness. These chapters remind us that God's justice is perfect, leading to the ultimate victory over evil. Comments thus far? Okay. The 4th point for me, I broke out, was there's hope in God's redemption. So you can look, the key verses for me were chapters 1:18 and then Isaiah 41 through 2. Despite judgment, God offers forgiveness and restoration, and this reveals his character as a merciful and compassionate God. And these verses, these chapters, these foreshadow the redemption that's provided to us through Jesus. Comments?
Well, we always look at judgment as being negative, but it isn't necessarily always negative. It's frequently positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a good point. And it's, from a work application, we would often talk about performance management with staff, right? And people go right to the negative. But performance management isn't all negative. If it's all negative, then it's wrong. It's balanced. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's still a judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you manage the performance. So good and bad, you reward the positives, you address the negatives. So judgment is going to reward the positives and address the negatives. Anything else to add to that, Rex? Okay. Thank you. Point number 5 for me is I listed out as the coming of the Messiah. So the key verses would be in Isaiah chapter 7 and 14, 9, 6 through 7, and 11, 1 through 10. So Isaiah prophesies about a future Messiah, a ruler from the line of David who will bring peace and justice. This is Jesus. This is fulfilled. This is Jesus. Comments? Okay. For me, the sixth point, the sixth theme would be key verses. You could reference to Isaiah 42, 1 through 9, 49, 1 through 7, and 52 through 53, split chapter. So these are often referred to as the servant songs, and they describe a servant of God who will suffer and die for the sins of humanity. Isaiah 53 in particular, and we went over these two chapters last week, 52 and 53. But 53 is especially significant as a prophecy of Jesus' crucifixion and atonement for sin. So these are, often referred to and reflected back upon, in particular for Jesus and that fulfillment. Anything to add to that, Dad?
It's always been interesting to me, and I've heard several sermons preached on this. But when you look at 53 and the detailed description of suffering Lord on the cross and what he went through, and I don't know how many points are made there, but when you think that Isaiah made this 700 years before Christ was born, and it's such a great description of what Christ went through. No one can deny it. The only way they can try to say that it couldn't have happened this way is they say it was written after Christ died, not before. So you find people who want to say, okay, somehow this was written after. And then, of course, that, again, I mentioned this. That's why it's so interesting. In 1947, it was discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls and determined that they were copied 200 years before Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Which means just almost absolutely has to be written before Christ's death.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, written well before. So you just think about what are the odds that 700 plus years someone could write of this and it would, come to fruition. So astronomical. Yeah, just couldn't be done, obviously. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I should phrase, not what person could have written this without a, godly influence. So, anything to add? Anything else? Good. Okay. So then I put down the seventh point would be the glory of the new creation, and looking to verses Isaiah 2 through 4, and 35, 1 to 10. Isaiah envisions a future of peace and restoration for God's people. So this points to the ultimate fulfillment in the new heavens and earth described in Revelation. So you can make a connection there. And anything to add? Comments? Okay. Point number 8, for me, theme 8 would be God's universal plan for salvation. So you can find reference to this in Isaiah 49:6 and 56:7 as well, although we haven't gotten there yet. Isaiah expands the promise of salvation beyond Israel to include all nations. So, this is the Great Commission and the spread of the gospel. So it's going to be made available to everybody, not just the Jew. Anything to add? The Jews, yeah, definitely didn't like that message. So they were very selfish. They thought they were the chosen and no one else. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Theme number 9, trust in God amidst trials. So you can find reference to this in Isaiah 40, 28 to 31 and 41:10. Isaiah repeatedly calls for trust in God even in times of despair. These themes encourage us to rely on God's strength and faithfulness. And, it's interesting that, we make this contrast to times of despair, and put your trust in God. And there's so many examples of not doing that. But I don't know. I think I find more often when people are going through difficult times, that's when they look to God, as opposed to when we're in positive times and things are going well, we tend to go astray more. So that's been probably more of my observation. But here Isaiah is, reminding us and telling us, even if it's difficult, put your trust in God. And maybe especially so. Anything to add to that? Okay. And then for me, the last point would be the role of the Holy Spirit, and you can find reference to that in Isaiah 11:2 and 61, 1-3. Again, we haven't gotten to past 53 yet. As Isaiah describes the Spirit of the Lord empowering the Messiah and bringing transformation. The prophecies are all fulfilled in Jesus, and we know that. That's what this all points to. We have the benefit of looking back, and the story has all unfolded, and now we read this. At that time, they didn't. So Isaiah is just speaking all this stuff, and as my dad pointed out, that's 700 years from now with all of this. So who's going to believe it? Nobody. Very few. So anything to add before I move on to the next section? Comments? Negative? Okay. That's okay. So then I broke out key figures and concepts. Again, this is just me. So you may have more, you may have less, you may not agree. Suggestions are all good. But this is just, my reflection on it. So some of the key figures and the concept in the book of Isaiah. So obviously there's Isaiah, the prophet himself. He's called in a dramatic vision in Isaiah 6, where God commissions him to speak to a rebellious people. His message is one of judgment and hope as he prophesies the coming Messiah and the future restoration of Israel. So, these are all things to think about. And then, the servant of the Lord, this is, as you read through this is a mysterious figure who appears throughout Isaiah, particularly in the servant songs, Isaiah 42, 49, 50, and 52 and 53. We know that this servant this is the prophecy of Jesus. So this is the foreshadowing, the foretelling of what's to come. Then we have Emmanuel, God's promised presence. In Isaiah 7:14, he prophesies the birth of a child named Emmanuel, which means God is, God with us. This is the prophecy of the birth of Jesus. And then we have the remnant. So even in judgment, God promises that a faithful remnant will remain. Isaiah 10, 20-22. This theme is important throughout Isaiah, showing that God will preserve faithful people even amid destruction. So there will be some left. There will be a remnant. And then there's Cyrus. So Cyrus is prophesied as God's chosen instrument to deliver Israel from Babylonian captivity. And he will facilitate the rebuilding of Jerusalem and the temple. So this is, foretold in Isaiah 44:28. So now, despite being a pagan king, God calls him his anointed and uses him to fulfill his divine purposes. Isaiah 45:1. The fulfillment of this prophecy occurred when Cyrus conquers Babylon and issues a decree allowing the Jewish exiles to return home. So you can find reference to that, Isaiah 45:13, and then if you look in Ezra 1 and 1-4. And then you have King Hezekiah. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Look at Cyrus again, and this is amazing to me. But Isaiah's prophesying using this man's name, and it's like 100 years before the man he wasn't even born.
Yeah.
And so Isaiah is prophesying. He said his name is Cyrus, and here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it really makes it more dramatic.
Yeah.
Realize, wow,
Yeah.
what a prophecy.
Yeah, it's a really good point. For the benefit of folks that might be watching in, Cyrus wasn't even born yet when he's being prophesied about. So his grandfather wasn't even born yet. Yeah. So And here we are not just prophesying about a person, but a specific person with a name. So, absolutely. Great point. Excellent point. Anything else? Okay. And then there's King Hezekiah. He's portrayed in the book of Isaiah as a faithful and righteous king who trusted in God during a time of crisis, and particularly when Assyria threatened Judah. That's in Isaiah 36 and 37. Hezekiah's prayer for deliverance led to a miraculous victory as God strikes down 185,000 Assyrian soldiers, saving Jerusalem. That's Isaiah 37 and 36, verses 36 to 38. And despite his faithfulness, Hezekiah's later life is marked by pride and a lapse in judgment when he shows the Babylonian envoys his wealth, leading to a prophecy of Judah's future exile. And that's found in 39, verses 1 to 8. So that is the characters that I highlighted. Anything you'd add to that, or comments, questions? No? Okay, that's fair. So then I went and highlighted just some important prophecies and their fulfillment, how things came together. So first off, you have the fall of Israel and Judah. So Isaiah prophesies the fall of Israel, the northern kingdom to the Assyrians, and the eventual exile of Judah, the southern kingdom, to Babylon. So we know Israel falls sometime between 722 and 720 BC. I forget, which date did you go with, Dad? Are you a 721 guy? So,
I'm sticking with 722.
722? Okay, all right. So, I think it's somewhere in those few years. You get a lot of banter back and forth. Judah, they end up, they fell or they fall to the Babylonian Empire after a series of events spanning over several years. So you have in 609 BC, or approximately thereof, the fall of King Josiah, Judah's last righteous king at the Battle of Megiddo. Josiah's death marked the beginning of Judah's decline, as subsequent kings did not follow his reforms, 2 Kings. 597 BC, you have the first major deportation of Judeans to Babylon under King Jehoiakim. Under King Nebuchadnezzar, Babylon captured Jerusalem and took the king and many people into exile. Again, you can find that in 2 Kings. And then 587 BC, you have the final destruction of Jerusalem and the temple by King Nebuchadnezzar. The city was destroyed, and a second large group of people, including King Zedekiah, were exiled to Babylon. Again, you can find more detail in 2 Kings. So before I move on to the next set, anything to add with that? Okay. So then you have in Isaiah 9 and 6 and 7, and Isaiah 11, 1 to 10. These passages describe the coming of a righteous king who will bring justice and peace. This is referring to Jesus, to the coming Messiah. You have in Isaiah 10, he will use Assyria as an instrument of judgment, but Assyria will be judged ultimately for its own ignorance or arrogance. You have Isaiah 39, where Isaiah foretells of the Babylonian exile, which would occur after Hezekiah's reign. In Isaiah 45 and 13, in 538 BC, Cyrus allowed the Israelites to return to their homeland, freeing them from captivity. And in Isaiah 53, again, we've talked about that. That's considered one of the clearest messianic prophecies in the Old Testament, predicting the suffering, death, and ultimate redemption through the servant. This chapter is referring to Jesus Christ and his sacrifice. Comments, observations? Yeah. So then I threw a few reflection points, some practical application. So you can see the judgment and hope. Isaiah's theme of judgment and hope are still relevant today. The message of turning back to God and trusting in his redemptive power is timeless. You have the suffering servant, so you can reflect on the servant's sacrifice and what it means for personal faith. Isaiah 53 provides us deep insight into the purpose of Jesus' death, and that's to bear the world's sins. That's to bear our sins. And you can put your trust in God's promises. Isaiah constantly reassures Israel and us that God is faithful in keeping his promises even when circumstances seem bleak. So in the darkest of days, you can put your hope and your trust in God. So that wraps that part up. Now, this right here, this questions or comments, if you're looking on your phone, you may actually just get you won't see this piece here. You might see a little thumbnail click. If you click it, it'll open that form up. It's just because of screen space on the phone. If you look at it on a tablet or a computer, you'll see this. You can type it right in, and then you would click the submit button right there. And question, comment, if you see something I missed, add, disagree with, whatever it is, you can put it right there. And if you want me to reply to you, just answer the second question, let me know, who it is and how to get a hold of you. Although if you tell me your name, I probably know, at least in this group. But you can share this too. If you think this is of any value, if you have a friend that you want to share it with, this is a shareable link. It's totally open to anybody and everyone. So before I move on to the quiz review, any thoughts, comments? No? Okay. One last thing before I move on. Any thoughts or comments with the sway and having it on your phone and being able to look at it as we talk? Interesting? It's okay if it's not. I won't get my feelings hurt. I got thick skin. So, okay. Let me know if you think of anything. And again, like I said, feel free to share. You can share with anybody. It's totally open. There's no restrictions on it whatsoever, other than you can't edit it. And if you are so interested, when you hover right here, this ellipsis, it's the 3 dots. It's called an ellipsis. If you click on that, you can export it. And then what that'll do is open up, and you can export it to a Word or a PDF document and do what you want with it. Or you can just print it straight from here. I don't know how the printing will look right off of here, so you can mess around with it if you have time. So now I'm going to go ahead and move over to the quiz that we took. And again, here's the QR code is right here. If you did not take the quiz and you want to follow along on your phone right now, go ahead and scan that. It's live, so it'll actually work right now. And I think if it behaves correctly, if you answer while we're going along, your answers will populate on the screen. So it'll show. It won't show you, so that you won't have to be embarrassed if you're wrong. So everybody good? And that QR code will stay there. See, there was a time I remember in school, man, if you would have had a phone out, that was bad. Here we are in class, get your phones out, scan the QR codes. Does anybody need it printed? I do have some print copies. Good? You want one over there? Okay. Any more? Just one? There you go. Absolutely. Y'all got it? Okay. So the first question, and we'll just go through it. Like I said, the QR code will stay there, so it won't go away as we progress through. But the first question is, what does Isaiah's name mean? Now, you can see on the screen there what everybody answered. And I put check all that apply, so there's more than one answer here. And you can see the distribution of the answers. So that's just telling you we have 9 and people that have answered, and that's the distribution of the scores. Here's the correct answer. It's the salvation is of the Lord, and the Lord is my salvation. I didn't see messenger of the Lord. I don't know if anybody answered it that way and wants to say, hey, you can find that here. I'd be okay with that if you find it. Okay. Good. Okay. So question 2. Who did he primarily preach to? Again, multiple answers, check all that apply. And you can see the distribution there. Anybody still trying to scan and answer? Following along? Okay. It's Judah and Jerusalem. So arguably one and the same. Who did he primarily preach to? Judah and the capital. I didn't see anything for Egypt. Matter of fact, I think I threw Egypt and Babylon in there just because I thought it was so wrong. Nobody would pick it. So, but I guess I was wrong. I don't know why that keeps doing that, but that's okay. Approximately when did he serve as a prophet of God? So again, you can see the distribution of scores there. We had 9 responses, and correct answer is 739 to 699 BC. That's what I came up with. So I think there was a little wiggle room there, but that seemed to be, anyway, at least that's the answer I was looking for. Anybody disagree with that? Okay. So next question, how many years did he serve as a prophet? Well, I think if you go with the previous answer, if you got 739 to 699, I think it's closer to 40. There's variation there. I think if you read different commentaries, people have different ranges, and you may find anywhere from 40 to, I think the most I've seen is 60. So like a 40 to 60, yeah. So I could be talked into 50, maybe even 55, depending on what your sourcing is. 65, I didn't see anything higher than 60 myself. What other prophets were contemporary with Isaiah? Again, check all to the apply. Oh, looks like we got a 10th respondent in there, so thank you, whoever that is. You see the distribution of answers there, and there we go. It's Hosea and Micah. Those are the two. I think you could say Amos and Jonah as well, but they weren't answers on there. But I'm not sure if anybody has a difference of opinion with Nahum and Habakkuk. I think Nahum might be one that's more debatable. I saw some commentary. People had some different opinions about the timing of Nahum. I don't know about Habakkuk. I don't think that's even close, honestly. So pretty far away. To whom did Judah turn for help in the days of King Ahaz? Again, you can see the distribution of scores there. It's almost an even split, right, from Egypt and Assyria, but it's Assyria. So you can find that in chapter 7, verses 1 through 17, and then you can connect that to 2 Kings 16, chapter 16, verses 10 to 18. At least that's where I got my answer. So if you feel it's Egypt, let me know. During what kings did Isaiah proclaim his message? So again, check all to the apply. All of them. They were listed there, so they were all that I could see. Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah. So he was present during all of them. So anybody disagree? It's okay if you do. Just because I put it down there doesn't mean it's right. So I tried my best. I even had the 3 preachers look it over. So what's that? Oh, well, yeah, that's a whole nother one. Yeah, not many. How is the condition of the nation described? And again, this is multiple answers. Check all to the apply. You can see the distribution there and all of them. So if you go to Isaiah 1, chapter 1 and verses 4 through 6, I think you can pretty much piece all of those out if you read through those verses right there. So it's a sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a breed of evildoers, and children who are corrupters. If God had not left them a remnant, what would they have been like? You can see the distribution there. Answer I was looking for was Sodom and Gomorrah. So, and if anybody wants to speak up to desolate and without a home, but I'll tell you where I went for Sodom and Gomorrah. I was looking at Isaiah 1 and verses 9 and 10. I think it specifically calls out Sodom and Gomorrah. So does anybody want to speak up on the desolate without a home? I think you could make some inference there if it's like Sodom and Gomorrah. So. Good? Okay. What was the moral condition of the people in Isaiah's day? Again, check all to the apply. This is multiple answers. can see the distribution, and verse 3, they are infatuated with pagan customs and peoples, so they're not God-focused. They are filled with symbols of wealth and power. The land is filled with idols to which they worship and bow down. I think we can see that for sure, and you find that all in chapter 1. Now, they worshiped according to God's desire. No. I threw that one in there. Like, I thought that was, like, so wrong, nobody would pick it. So, but we did. So it's just not. But if you read through chapter 1 really kind of tees everything up for us. So next question, what is the primary message of Isaiah 1? And I think everybody is rock solid on this one here. So a call to repentance and a rejection of empty rituals. At least of the answers you had. I don't know if anybody had a different answer in their head that just wasn't printed there, but that's what I had. Now in Isaiah 6, what vision does the prophet Isaiah have? And this would be 6 verses 1 to 4 is where I was pulling from. A vision of the throne of God and seraphim. So you can go to Isaiah 6 and verses 1 to 4 to find that answer. Now, what does God promise in Isaiah 9, chapter 9, verse 6, regarding the coming Messiah? So again, you can go to Isaiah 9:6 in this one. The answer I was looking for was a king who will bring peace and justice. So, and again, go to 9:6 to find that answer. Comments? Questions? No? Okay. We're making good time. So this will work out perfect. In Isaiah 11, the branch from the stump of Jesse refers to which person? So everybody got this one. So everybody's solid right there. Question 15, what is the significance of the suffering servant in Isaiah 52:13 through 53:12? I think we talked about this in particular in the review that we just went through, and the answer here I was looking for, it's a prophecy about the crucifixion of Jesus. So it tells us that story of what's to come. Now, question 16, which of the following is not one of the sins condemned by Isaiah in his early chapters? So there was a little bit of noise here, but the answer I was looking for was slavery. So I think that's the only one that I could come up with of that list there that wasn't particularly called out. I mean, I think we know idolatry was called out because that's everything they were doing. Oppression of the poor, unjust leadership, I think those are all circumstances of the day that Isaiah calls out, particularly in chapter 1. But I didn't find any reference to slavery myself, unless anybody has a different opinion. No? 17, what promise does God make in Isaiah 40 and 31? So we have the distribution here. They who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. So that's literally right out of it, almost verbatim. Question 18, in Isaiah 7:14, the prophecy about a virgin giving birth is a reference to. Answer we're looking for is the birth of Jesus Christ. So I think that's what we've been talking about. We know that Isaiah speaks to what's to come, and he's very specific about it. Question 19, which king does Isaiah confront about his alliance with Assyria in Isaiah 30? So there's a little bit of disparity here. So answer I was looking for was King Ahaz. So you can find that in, which king is it? You can find that in 30. So I'm looking at Ahaz as the answer, but I see quite a few people picked Hezekiah. Does anybody want to own that one and say why you felt it was that way? No? Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay, okay. So you're saying, because in 30, Hezekiah is the king at the moment? Okay. Let's see what my notes have here. Anybody want to add to that? In line with Oliver? It's okay to be. I mean, and I'm okay being wrong. I don't have any personal ownership on this. So, other than I just prepared it. So, but I can easily correct it and deny it. So, that's funny. So, I don't know, maybe a closer connection is in chapter 7. And this is kind of where mine was that now it came to pass in the days of Ahaz. We go down here. So Isaiah is sent to King Ahaz. So that's where I was really looking. Maybe I'm just off. I shouldn't have put 30. Maybe I should have put chapter 7 because it'd make more sense. Yeah. So I will change the question to chapter 7 because then it aligns with the answer. Or I'll change the answer to align with chapter 30. So how about that? Okay. That's good. Thank you. Thank you for owning it. People are always nervous to speak up in a large area where you're saying, well, no, that's not the answer. So that's awesome. Okay, question 20. In Isaiah 35, what will happen when the Lord comes to save his people? So you can see the distribution there. Got a few different answers, but the primary answer is the one I was looking for. The blind will see, the deaf will hear, and the lame will leap. And that's verses 5 and 6, if you look in chapter 35. So you should be able to get that answer out of verses 5 and 6. Question 21, in Isaiah 1:18, it encourages Israel to come, let us reason together. True or false? True. Yep. So it's true. So this next one, Isaiah prophesies the fall of Nineveh in chapters 1 through 53. So the answer I was looking for was false. So we have at least one person out there that thinks true, and that person want to own it and tell us why, just as Oliver pointed out, like I can be wrong. No? Okay. I think you could make an argument that it is a prophecy that relates to Nineveh as well, because I think that's the capital of Assyria, right? And Assyria is being prophesied about. But the answer I was looking for was Assyria. I think in Nahum, that's when it calls out Nineveh specifically. So the answer I was looking for was false, and that's my reasoning for it, if that makes sense. But I think you could make an argument. Say, oh, it's calling out Assyria, and Nineveh's part of that whole thing, right? So I could live with that. I think it's a reasonable position. So anything to add to that? Okay. Question 23, Isaiah 9, 1-2, refers to a region called Zebulun and Naphtali, which will be honored by the coming of the Messiah. So what say you? True is the answer I was looking for. Now, this is in Matthew 4, verses 14 through 16. Matthew writes of this is, when Jesus begins his ministry, Matthew quotes Isaiah 9 and verses 1-2 and its fulfillment. So there's that connection made with that. Anything to add? Commentary? No? Okay. So we're almost there. In Isaiah 42, 1-4, the servant of the Lord is depicted as bringing justice. The answer I'm looking for is true. I think you can defend that in verse 3. So of 1 to 4, verse 3, I think, is very specific to that. And then question 25, Isaiah 53:5 states that the suffering servant was wounded for our transgressions and crushed for our iniquities. The answer I'm looking for is true. And I think that's what it says. So that's what I got. I think that brings us right up to time. So made good time, worked out well, I think. Let me know if you have any feedback, questions, comments. Certainly appreciate it. It's yours. And thank you for your time.